All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Access Granted. And today it's an exciting one where we are going to be talking about the profound impact of data in shaping our modern world, especially in the rise of generative AI. Data is the bloodline for many businesses to make innovations and take this competitive advantage and bring innovation to life. Today we have a very special guest, Junaid Rao, who has decades of experience with the data. I've been working with data analytics, especially in the cloud world as well. And today we wanted to see if we can pick his brains in terms of what trends are we seeing, especially with customers, how they're leveraging data, specifically in the cloud, and how are they making it useful for not only to make innovations, but also at the same time bringing new innovations to the world. Junaid, thank you for coming to our show, and really happy to have you here.
Thank you, Nauman. Thank you for inviting me.
So Junaid, before we get started, right, I wanted to get a little bit of introduction of what have you been with the data. You have been associated with data management analytics for a while now, and in the recent past, I would say in the last 4 or 5 years, things have pivoted from on-prem to the cloud world. So maybe a little bit introduction of how you got into this data analytics, data management world, and so far, how has been your journey?
Yeah, thanks for that, Nauman. Yes, I have almost 20 plus years of experience in the field of data analytics, big data, and cloud. And I think we both belong to a generation who has started their data analytics journey from Excel files, Fox Pro, MySQL, SQL 2000, and then Microsoft SQL database suite, going to Oracle warehouses, Teradata, and then we have seen the migration to cloud, big data, Hadoop clusters, and now there are so many different tons of technologies in public cloud. So my journey has been very exciting. Over the last 20 years, I have played around with a lot of different technologies and started the journey with very small data sets, very manual data analytics solution, and now working with very sophisticated technologies in cloud and on-prem. Uh, in my experience, I have worked with customers across EMEA and APAC, so I've got to see different type of customer solutions, regulatory requirement specific to different geography and different government customers as well.
That's great. That's great experience that you have. And I think specifically now with data becoming so critical for many businesses, I think your experience has probably is more impactful. How to actually consume the data, right? Because everybody is able to collect the data, but now what to do with that data, right? How do you clean the data? How do you make it optimized and analyzed for business intelligence as well as making new innovations, finding out new trends is so important these days. So my question for you is, in the customers or the businesses that you have been working with, what has been that common trend that you see where how they're able to, both internal and external, how they're able to consolidate the data and able to see the findings, especially when you are talking about large scale data? What are the common uses and trends you are seeing that businesses are leveraging data for?
Yeah, if I go back like 10 years in the past, so you may also have seen this working with customers in the field of data, that there were different data silos in the organization. There was a trend that organization may be duplicating the data. There will be different teams who will be sourcing the data and then doing their analytics on top of that. But in the last 10 years or so, we see more trend towards consolidation of these small warehouses into one large big lake house. So the organizations are now focusing towards creating a single lake house and making that as a source of truth rather than having different small piece of data sets duplicating the effort in the organization. And the challenge for that is to pick the right technology for the lakehouse, because they don't want to stuck with a technology that cannot support all kind of use cases. And I have seen customers who are in cloud, they are looking at different cloud solutions and open source solutions to make sure that they are not picking a stack that we get obsolete after like 5 or 7 years, when there are new different type of formats or there are different kind of use cases which cannot be supported by the technology. So I think the centralization of the data into a one single lake house is the biggest trend I've seen in the past few years.
All right, so that's all. That's also what I see with some of the largest customers we are working with. But I think one of the key aspects that I'm seeing is many customers are in a hybrid multi-cloud world, right? So it's no longer the case that you are stuck with one cloud, or you have one or the other. You have an environment where you might be leveraging best of breed from different cloud providers, and you may have a very significant footprint or on-prem or newer form of on-prem, which is maybe AWS Outpost or Azure Zones, or you're now seeing these GPU, liquid air cooling GPU data centers being formed for some of the newer use cases. So in this whole secure hybrid multi-cloud world, what are you seeing as some of the challenges in terms of, obviously you consolidate data from different sources, but from a security perspective, what challenges are top of mind for customers that you're seeing in your day-to-day interactions?
So there was a recent CIO survey done by Barclays in which they actually analyze or they ask questions to the CIO of different organization on their vision on hybrid or multi-cloud strategy. And if I look at the results for that survey for like second half of 2020, the data repatriation was like 43% of the survey result. And if you look at it now, I have the results for first half of 2024. Now, 83% of CIOs think that they have to do data repatriation. So like any other technology, cloud is something that was very fascinating in the past few years, and every organization was talking about cloud, moving the data to cloud. But now, when these organizations are in cloud, they now understand the challenges. So the 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 cloud companies have done excellent job in marketing their product, but now the customers are experiencing the challenges and they understand that it's not uh, as green as they thought it was. And now they are deciding, okay, what is the right balance for them? What are the workloads they should keep in on-prem, and what are the workloads they should run in public cloud? So this is still like I would say it's not completely settled. Organizations are still learning that how they should adopt the hybrid architecture, how they would adopt like multi-cloud is again something which not many of the organization have started thinking about, because the cost of moving data from one cloud service provider to another is very huge. So, and also the bandwidth it requires to replicate data from one cloud service provider to another is very massive. So still, I think the hybrid is something which will settle down first before people will actually start adopting the multi-cloud strategy. There will be some specific use case which even right now you can do in multi-cloud, which does not involve huge amount of data movement between two different cloud service provider. But when it comes to building your data lake house, you still have to pick one and say, okay, this is my main platform where I'm going to have my data lake house. The trend which I see, which will be there in the next few years, is to decide a hybrid strategy for your organization. I know that there are some customers who are still happy to completely go into cloud because they don't have any regulatory requirement, they don't have any sensitive data to host in on-prem, or they may not want to run any workloads, consistent workloads, which may have like GPU requirements. So they may find cloud still elastic for them, more the cost or the overhead cost is still minimum for them, and they can offload a lot of their organization overhead to the cloud service provider. So yes, there will be some organization who will be happy with cloud, but there's also a very huge trend right now in this in the organization thinking about how they implement their hybrid strategy and should they actually move their data from cloud back to on-prem.
Yeah, that's very insightful. So Junaid, let me ask you, so when your customers that you're interacting with that are talking about data repatriation or moving data back from cloud to the on-prem, what are the key reasons? Is it the cost, or is it the data privacy? They want better control, governance. What are key factors that are making them think about moving some part of their landscape back to on-prem, because it does take you, skill, power, CPU. It's a massive undertaking to be able to bring it back. Unless you have never went to the cloud, you may still have things left over. But if you want to redo it from the scratch again on-prem, or even newer form of on-prem, there has to be a better, a much, I would say, stronger value proposition in terms of why you're taking the break. What have you seen the reason towards that?
So there's no single reason I would say. Cost, definitely, yes, it's one of the factors which customers are considering because if you are getting a SaaS offering or a PaaS offering, then definitely you're going to pay some premium on getting that ease of use and reducing your overhead. Means when you move from on-prem to public cloud, you get rid of your data center, you get rid of your teams who are managing those data centers and running the operations 24/7. Obviously, when you're moving all of that workload into public cloud, the cloud service provider is going to charge you premium for managing it on your behalf. Though their cost would be lower in public cloud because they're maintaining one data center to support hundreds and thousands of customers. So their cost margins are are going to be much more than what you have in the on-prem. So cost, yes, but there are some other factors as well. Like one of the reason customer goes into public cloud is the elasticity and the scalability of the resources. I'm not sure if you have heard about this, but two of my customers, one is one of the biggest airline in the Middle East, and one is pension fund in Europe. Both of these customers are running their workload in a cloud service provider region in Europe, and both of them hit into a VM availability issue in public cloud. And they reached out to the vendor and said, okay, we are not able to spin up the VMs. We don't have the VMs available. And though we have the reserve pricing with you, we are not able to request additional VMs. And the answer for them was that we don't have the capacity available. You have to go to another region. So when the cloud service provider will not be able to meet the demand of their customers, that actually completely kills the purpose of that scalability or elasticity factor, which was sold by CSPs for the last many years. So yeah, like I said, there's not one single factor. Regulatory compliance requirement could be another one as well, which would require customers to move some of the data from cloud back to on-prem. Sometimes security breaches is one of the reasons which force the organization to go back into their on-prem data centers to move some of the workloads back from cloud to on-prem.
All right. That's very insightful. Now, in terms of, since you have a lot of experience working with EMEA and APAC customers, what do you see as a major difference or requirements specifically from these countries in terms of data residency, or some of the security requirements that you see that may not be as common with other region customers?
I think when it comes to public cloud, now most of the countries, either it's APAC or EMEA, they're very concerned about residency of the data in their own country. The challenge for the cloud service provider is that they have to set up a new region in a country and they have to look at the business value out of it. So if imagine if they are setting up a region in Singapore versus Europe, you can see the market impact. Means what is the market in Europe versus the market in Singapore. Similarly, if you are setting up a new region in Indonesia or Japan or Korea, uh, e- these cloud service providers, just for the regulatory requirement, they have to set up their local data centers in local region in those countries. But it's the business value which they are looking at when they have to deploy something in US. They can cover the entire US market. They deploy something in Europe, they can capture entire European market and some other countries as well. But APAC, I would say, is much difficult because Australia would have their own regulatory requirement, and the population of Australia is, we can say, is less than the population of Mumbai. So you have to look at the business opportunity in those region and then take decisions on, okay, how much market we can capture with this investment. So regulatory requirement, yes, that's very different in all of these countries. But in terms of technology adoption as well, the availability of skilled resources, that's another big challenge. Um, then following the best practices in when it comes to the deployment of the data lake or any solution is very different in Europe. Like in many European custom countries, there is no concept of deploying anything in your production platform before testing it in the dev test or all the different lower environments. Whereas in many countries, you would see that customer would skip extensive testing in the lower environments and they make changes directly in production.
Got it. Got it. So I think if I am a customer, that basically, with all the things that you have said, right, that, hybrid multi-cloud is a reality. You need to be secure. You need to follow the law of the land in terms of data residency. It may be wise to pick up a platform that works across a multi-cloud hybrid world, because you never know where the business requirements are going to come from, and it could be analytics piece, it could be a data management piece, something that can be unify and grow with what the business demands. So some solution like that would be more advisable, as opposed to going fragmented approach, where you take one solution from AWS or Azure or on-prem, and then you are having to manage three different solutions for the three different environments. Having that unified platform that can do data management, data analytics, data storage in the data lake, sort of a way, and then works across multi-cloud hybrid environments depending on where your business demands to grow. Very similar to other multi-cloud players that I've seen, multi-cloud hybrid players I've seen, because this does give customer unified approach. It makes life easier for the operations team and allows you to grow with the demand of the business. So that's, I would say, very, yeah, insightful in that regard. Now coming back to security, right? So the cloud data is expected to grow about 200% or 23% annually, uh, and it does provide both opportunities and the security challenges. And specifically talking about identity, when it comes to security, there was a stat where over 80% of the cloud breaches are tied to identity and access issues, highlighting that there's a need for access security, which is critical. And when it comes to data, when I was talking to you earlier, and yeah, we were solutioning together, the ability to have this granular data access to even tables or warehouses, so that data scientists, one, can only access the data that's basically applicable to that data scientist, is important. Right? So how do you see the importance of identity security when you talk about data, management, data analytics, data solutioning? Because I think as you're trying to consolidate all this data into a single platform, or maybe in multiple platforms, but a unified platform, the importance of who gets access to what, and it's specifically not having that standing access, it becomes very critical. And to what have you seen, some of the best practices that you can share with our audience here?
Yeah, so security is definitely, no doubt, is the most critical topic right now, and data security is something which companies are investing a lot. And having a single identity for your users in on-prem and public cloud is the key ask from the customers, because there is definitely an overhead of managing different policies and permission into different systems, like replicating the permission into different platforms. So when customers are looking at building their lake houses or building their data lake platform, and they are in a hybrid world, they are looking for solutions that can actually provide a single pan of security, both in on-prem and public cloud. And so my experience, there aren't many options right now in the data world which can actually do hybrid properly. Means that spans across on-prem and public cloud and give you a single layer of security for your metadata, regardless of where it sits. The cloud service providers, though they have some offerings for on-prem, but they're still not able to meet the requirement of the on-prem world. There are some vendors who are very strong in on-prem, but they don't have that single pane of glass, which gives you the single layer of security. So that's definitely an area of improvement for the technology industry. And I mean, I can see that there is huge potential here, and especially with the evolution of AI, ChatGPT, and the new use cases which are coming up with the evolution of technology, this is something which should get more attention and focus. Otherwise, there will be much chaos coming in future once you open it up for AI.
And I think I'm also seeing a lot of audit controls and a lot of regulations around security is talking about least privilege access, where you should not have power user accounts which are available 24/7 for anybody to basically steal the credentials and be able to get lateral movement or get access to customer data or intellectual property. So that's a, I would say, low hanging fruit for customer for security teams to implement. But what I've also seen that with identity and access management space, there hasn't been a lot of innovation, specifically in the cloud. A lot of vendors who have been around for 20 plus years, they are sort of lifting and shifting their password and credential and static accounts approach in the cloud, which obviously is one of the reasons why all these breaches are happening. So the modern approach is more about ephemeral access, just in time, not having a need for extending power user accounts, and ability to just in time ephemeral access to whenever you need access to that data, and do it. And one thing that obviously I learned from you is ability to be able to provide granular access to different tables, right? So just because you are a data scientist one does not mean that now you have access to the entire warehouse. You should be able to access only the tables that you are privileged to, and then only do it on just in time basis. So what are your thoughts in terms of how the security teams or the identity and access management teams needs to look at this type of approach from a data security perspective as they're trying to build their zero trust architecture security posture?
In my opinion, zero trust is something which is a must when you go into public cloud. Means I'll give you an example. 20 years back, when I used to work for a telecom company, we used to scan the machines on the network, and we usually found out that okay, there are so many shared folders with a lot of sensitive data, sometimes personal files available on the network drives, and all of those machines were accessible on the network for anyone. So if you do not have strict permission control in your network, in your organization, people will do so many things which you cannot think of. And that's why zero trust is very important. And not long time ago, we have seen a lot of data breaches that only happened because someone did not define proper permissions on their S3 account. S3 buckets were public, and they hosted some data. And there was a guy, someone like me, who was just scanning the S3 buckets and figured out there are some buckets available with no permission control. So even the cloud service providers are actually learning these things, and they are building some features out of the box configuration, default configuration to restrict um, public access to the resources. So they are trying to reduce the impact. But again, it comes down to every organization to learn how they can protect their data by having a minimal permission or zero trust configuration for their subscription for their organization. And on-prem, when there was no cloud, it was much easier because you can actually put a firewall, you can disconnect from the rest of the world. But now, when you go into public cloud, on a single click, you are exposed to the entire world. And then there are people who are just doing scanning of the machines, trying to find out vulnerabilities and then misusing that. So zero trust in cloud, I think that's must to have. In on-prem, you would be able to survive without it, but in public cloud, yeah, it'll give you a lot of trouble.
Very well said. I think I was doing another podcast with a chief architect a couple of weeks back, and he described exactly the same way that in on-prem there used to be a fixed parameter, so that you can put your firewalls and security tooling in that ingress point, let's say, or egress point. But in cloud, it's a flat architecture, right? And it's with that identity becomes your new security parameter. So you have to control it, you have to protect it, and you need to have a zero trust privilege access security posture. And not to mention, I think we talk about humans a lot, but in the cloud, non-human identities are becoming exponentially greater than the human identities, right? So you're having your Lambda talking to S3 bucket, or if you have a RP automation, or if you have another process that like GitHub or Git trying to access some of the files in your S3 bucket. So securing those identities also become very important because, as you said, right, the bad actors are scanning for those security tokens or security ID keys, and even if they're able to get one security key of a non-human, they can literally move pretty much everywhere in your organization, which I've seen with recent breaches. So having that zero trust architecture, I think, as you said, is paramount, and it's important for everybody to focus on the least privileged access, specifically when it comes to identities. Now, in terms of uh, let's say if a enterprise who is trying to move to the cloud, who is in early stages of their moving to the cloud, and obviously they want to have this data management, data analytics strategy. Would be your recommendation? What would be advice to them in terms of what are some of the key things that they should implement right from the word go?
It actually depends on the size of the organization and the use case they are trying to solve. Like in many organizations, they are like a small or medium organization. They are just looking for a warehouse solution, and they do not see their organization use cases to go beyond the warehousing in the next 5 or 10 years. So they're looking for something as a warehouse with minimal operational overhead. They can go and find a point solution that just give them warehousing capability in a SaaS kind of environment with minimal overhead, easy onboarding, and a plug and play kind of an architecture. But when you are a big organization and you're looking for a platform that gives you the end-to-end pipeline capability that allows you to source data from different type of formats, like you should be able to source data from different Oracle or NoSQL databases or from sensors, from API, social media, then you are able to transform that data in real time in batch, do large data processing in batch mode, and then be able to present the data out to external consumer for OLAP queries, or be able to serve to mobile applications or web pages, and then also like do machine learning and AI on top of that. Then you're talking about a platform that can actually do end-to-end everything in which touches the data. So you should be very careful if you are that kind of organization. Even though right now you are moving a data transformation or data ingestion use case, but you have to select the technology. Think about the next 5 years or your use cases which you will be onboarding to the platform, and pick a platform that can actually serve all of your requirement. And in my opinion, you should not be locking down yourself with proprietary solutions. Um, Open source formats are very, I mean, it's a big thing right now in the market. Lot of you can see there are different vendors who are adopting to um, iceberg table format now, which is very hot right now in the open source community. So Spark is one of the biggest, you can say, project of Apache, which is being used by not only by cloud service provider, but there are some organization who are just selling Spark under an enterprise license. So all of these open source technologies, open source formats, they are really useful and something to consider when you're picking up the right technology, your lakehouse, because it allows you to connect with different third-party tools as well. When you go to proprietary, then you are locked into specific technology. You are locked into the innovation that is controlled by that organization and not by the open source community.
That's great advice. And I think depending on, as you said, right, depending on the environment, right, whether it's a small environment, complex hybrid multi-cloud environment, not getting locked in is the key, right? But having a unified platform that provides a operational simplicity and security, right, while you're doing your data analytics and management is key. One last question. I know that we are running on top of the hour, but I always ask this question about for people who are trying to build their career and journey in the data space. What would be some of the advice for them, right? Where do they start from? There's a fresh graduate trying to, because everybody is talking about data these days, right? It's about AI, machine learning, cyber security. These are key topics, and there are a lot of fresh graduates or professionals are very interested in building the careers around data. What would be your advice to them?
My advice to someone who's starting, means who is just starting their career, I think they should not settle down on the field where they start with. You should be actually picking a field which you enjoy. Means you enjoy going to your office 9 a.m. because you like to work in that field and in that industry. You may not find your first job or first career move in that field, but look for a field that actually excites you and you enjoy going to your workplace and doing something new with that. It could be data, it could be AI, it could be something else, it could be cybersecurity, cloud networking, or anything. But if you think that data is the right field for you, and then um, I think the cloud, big data, and cybersecurity field, these are the three key pillars along with AI. And these are the few areas which are very hot at the moment. But my suggestion to anyone who's starting the career is look for the field which you enjoy working in. And doesn't matter if it's hot right now in the market or not, but at least you're gonna enjoy working in that field.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So that's great advice, Junaid, and really uh, happy to have you here on this podcast. I think you shared some great insights, and I'm sure that people who are listening may have follow up questions in terms of data management, data analytics. So, what is the best way if they want to reach out to you to get some advice? Obviously, with your years of experience helping customers, large customers with the data strategy, where they can reach out and what would be the point of contact for them?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me through LinkedIn. They can search me as Junaid Rao on LinkedIn. Yep, add me and then shoot a message.
Fantastic. And I'm here for any help that you need around securing your data, specifically from an identity and access management perspective. Reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. And, thanks, Junaid. Really appreciate it. And would love to see the audience in the next episode.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Bye
Take
bye.
care.